Before we move on, I use this word market index, and you may be thinking, okay, what do you mean by that? I know other people use that in potentially different ways, and I want to show you the consumer price index just to help you visualize exactly what it is we're talking about. So this is the consumer price index from the Fed. You can see this chart on the Fed. I'm going to max that out so you can see it from, I guess it looks like the 1940s all the way to today. And the way, really the genius of an index is that it makes it really easy to compare moments in time. So this index, there's always going to be like a base number, a level to compare to. And so for the consumer price index, that level is generally indexed to 100. So what does 100 mean? 100 means that is the price at a moment in time, and everything else is going to be compared relative to that moment in time. So a basket of goods and services in the early 80s would cost, if we want to think of it in dollars, we can say, okay, this basket of goods and services cost $100 in the early 80s. That's when the CPI was indexed to. It was indexed to the early 80s. So now we can look at where we are today on the CPI. We are today, as of the most recent reading, we're about 318. So what that means is relative to the early 80s, prices are 318% higher for that same basket of goods and services. So we are going to take that same strategy and apply it to real estate, but not through some sort of external index. We're going to create our own. And that's going to be something that you've probably never done before, to be able to create a custom index for your market to be able to compare moments in time. In this case, we're not trying to compare 1984 to right now. We actually want to compare the effective date of the appraisal to the contract date of a comparable sale. And an index can help us do that. So we're going to take a little bit different of a strategy. So the CPI takes a specific moment in time and bases that as, okay, that's 100. So we're going to be able to like really easily compare to the early 80s in terms of pricing. We're going to say our effective date, we're going to have our basket of goods and services is a unit of real estate. And that's going to be 100 as of the effective date. So what we're going to do is find indices for each moment in time so that we can compare. Oh, I have a comparable. The index at that moment in time was 105. That means the price was 5% higher at the time that comparable contracted relative to my effective date. So that's really helpful to be able to see that. Now, I'm gonna pause right there because it's a more complex than that, even in terms of how you interpret that result, because there are a lot of things that that result in price change. And when we're comparing that basket of goods and services, it's never precisely the same. So if we're thinking of that basket as something that you might have picked up in the grocery store, well, you can try to get that same exact basket to compare prices at two moments in times, but the products might have changed a little bit over time. And how did that impact the price? So some of it may be the value of a dollar changing, but some of it is that the basket itself changed a little bit. So we always have to take a step back from the data and apply judgment to say, okay, I do see that the calculated index at a particular moment in time was 105 relative to my effective date. How much of that is a change in the composition of the data at that moment in time relative to today? So In terms of our basket example, our unit of real estate today, is that the exact same unit of real estate that it was 4 months ago? Maybe not. We can talk about that a little bit more, but that's the concept we're going for. And so we're going to jump right in now to actually learning how to put your data into this workbook and calculate your custom index for your market and interpret the results. So that's what we're going to start doing in the next module.